What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Redemption 46 Studios. I'm Nick.
I'm Curtis.
You know the vibes. Y'all seen the picture. Y'all seen the thumbnail. Y'all know why y'all here. Closer. RM. Paul Blanco. Mahalia. I don't know what this is. I need to get closer to that subscribe button and become a real redeemer today. Also, make sure y'all jump on the Patreon. It's going to be exclusive RM content on there. Jin's birthday. We turning up. Jump on the Patreon, man. It's if you love BTS, this is a crazy month. V's birthday is at the end of this month as well, too. This might be the craziest month on Patreon. I'm gonna just kind of leave it like that. If you can't get on Patreon, YouTube, don't worry. We still got some dope content for y'all. It's a lot of stuff going on, but closer. I don't know. She looked black. I don't even look. At least on the picture, it didn't even look kind of just straight up like a SK artist.
Hard to say.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't want to be wrong and shit neither. It's just like she's not at all. But I don't know why she looked black from the picture. And Paul Blanco, Paul Blanco, that sounds very familiar.
I don't want to. I feel like that sounds like a producer name or something, unless I'm mistaken for anyone else. I'm not sure.
Well, we closer to being done the album. Like,
halfway there.
This is the halfway point, and you know how Kurt is and how I am a little bit. The halfway point of the album typically is the left to right turn.
The midpoint.
Just the midpoint of the story. I'm anxious to kind of hear what type vibe this on, especially when I see 3 people on a track. It's given 2 rappers and a singer, but it could be given all rappers for all I know, and Cypher. You just never know, but I'll shut the fuck up.
We're closer to finding out.
Yeah, we could just jump into this and have a conversation when we're done.
Let's see what we got.
God's here.
That was beautiful already.
I feel emotion and I time, yeah. Me never on the timeline, yeah. See you always in the limelight. Keep me rolling in the tape, yeah. Not a tease, no joke, I don't need it. Don't cease, baby, don't white floating. Wanna lock you up on my side, but you run away like fish, yeah. I keep you around, you just come in. Only just in my dream. I see you in right there. Don't wake me up from sleep. I think I'm losing my grip. Everything all the pain. Why should I bear my lie like this? You said no God, no.
I get a feeling sometimes that I can't get close enough to you. I feel it most in the nighttime, even though that's when
I like her part.
If I could be under your skin.
That's a difficult register.
You'd be closer than we've ever been.
Come on out of here from the block, baby. Say the time, don't wait for nobody. I bet you thought, baby, but the time won't stop when you and I make our lips stop, baby. And once again, you made me misplace my pride, baby.
Oh, his cadence is beautiful.
Vocals.
Throw some of this track over.
That's a bar.
That's all we can do. Yeah, just looking at you. Let's go in the day, so stay where you are. If that's all we can do. Yeah, just looking at you. Let's go in the day, so stay where you are. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. Stay
right,
That's a lot.
give me a second.
That's such a difficult register to hit.
It's giving like LMA, but like real low, and his voice was beautiful. When it ran into that, it was like. Yeah, then I even like just RM coming back on was just leave a message after the beep. I don't know why I feel like RM was doing the whole last part with his hands folded.
I kind of get that energy.
It's like
He rapping it like a church. I'm telling you.
you said we there.
I feel like he's kneeling at the altar, like pointing at the sky or something.
Let me see. Okay, yeah, I was kind of right with her. She's Jamaican, so okay.
Her voice on here is beautiful too.
Okay, yeah, from UK, songwriter, actress too. Okay, I wonder how he knows her.
Yeah, because he's been so particular about kind of who he's chosen for all these collaborations. So it's definitely fascinating.
Yeah, this was different. Somehow he was able to find two people with like two of the most unique voices I've heard like in a very long time. It's hard for me to kind of even gauge what both of them sound like. Like I said, I thought it's crazy somehow that I said she sounded like LMA when LMA is also from another UK artist.
Good attention.
So, like, you know, and it's crazy because I didn't really hear it in her voice, but she just was kind of giving the vibe. But her vibrato was like kind of so much at a lower tenor than kind of like even LMA is. She can hit those notes, but she's a little bit more like baby, like she's a little bit more kind of high. Shorty was like kind of here, but it complemented them so well because RM kind of already has like bass in his voice, and then when Paul went, it just kind of was like another layer of just something else. He was running in pockets,
For real.
just like kind of jumping in pockets, and that's not to take away from anything like RM did because you're probably about to hear me big up both of them.
No, of course.
I think it just worked out so well.
And these are your first exposures to the artist as is mine, so it's like, you know,
it's a surprise factor, and I think some people might just be like, well, he did this, and it's just like, no, we know what bro body of work is, and I think he killed it, especially like I said, anytime someone gets into that last vein where it feels like we thought he was in a church damn near like going, he ran in the pocket and everything too. I like this a lot. It feels so different, like and that's kind of the running theme for the like this album. I haven't really heard a track that sounds the same so far.
No, exactly.
Literally 5 tracks in, you know,
6 if we consider Wildfire.
Yeah, my fault. Six at this point. So it's just like Yun doesn't sound like Still Life. Still Life doesn't sound like All Day. All Day doesn't sound like Closer. Closer doesn't sound like Wildflower.
No, exactly.
So he's and if y'all been watching all the videos, I guess I'm gonna have a running theme. He is really giving a masterclass to me on just how to be like an artist, not a rapper. This is not a rap album. This is literally him just kind of linking up with like his folks and just like having fun and really telling like a beautiful story of his 20s.
Yeah, for sure.
I like this a lot. Maybe I'm changing my box. This might be my favorite joint so far. I still like Still Life a lot. What was the second joint with him and was it Still Life?
Still Life.
I like Still Life's second verse. That still might become maybe one of my favorite verses.
Yeah.
So
We
far.
said the trendsetter, I'm a go-getter.
Yes. See, you there. That might be still kind of one of my favorite verses so far.
Yeah.
I'm loving the energy on this track. This is good. And it's crazy, y'all, because like me and Kurt not trying to snap too much because obviously y'all want a bigger panel and everything. If y'all haven't realized, we've been working very hard for the last week, staying up almost till 8 o'clock in the morning trying to get the RM content done. We still been trying to give content to people who aren't just Army here, and also trying to get all the Gen content done too. So I'm sorry that the panels have been fluctuating and doing everything because everyone's working. It's the holidays. There's a lot going on, so just bear with us because we're really trying to give y'all like as much content as possible. So just put up with me and Kurt's analysis for a couple of these videos. But nah, jumping back into this, like this is amazing. This is the first track I had to bring back. Like I couldn't even leave. I couldn't even leave. I was closer to playing it back a third time. Y'all gotta subscribe for these puns.
Puns are fun.
Puns are fun.
Tons of fun.
Yeah, this just was fun and this was different. This made me want to dive into more of their work too, to kind of to see.
No, absolutely, and that's something I genuinely and generally love about music, and in a sense is that anytime you listen to an artist, you get exposure to artists who feature with that artist, and you kind of slowly grow your catalog of musical taste. Even in movies where it's like, I like so-and-so actor, so-and-so actors in this movie. Oh, but that person in this movie also smoked it. Then you check out their work, and it's like, oh, they worked with, so-and-so. And then you're looking at directors and, writers and so on and so forth. And it's just, I love that expansion of art in kind of all formats, really. It's
really the ebbs and flows of finding new artists. And that's kind of been a thing for decades when music kind of first started and collabs started. Like you said, it'd be like, who's this person? We know, artist A, who's artist B. But like I said, with that being said, RM, he's done a great job, honestly, of showcasing a lot more talent on like this album. Cause I'm trying to think how many features were on Mono. I don't even really remember kind of like 2 sticking out.
Not very many,
but not a lot.
Not very many.
And it seems like on here he's sharing a lot of the limelight. Because I felt like we're 6 tracks in. I felt like 4 of them had features.
Of 10 tracks on the album, 8 have features, I believe.
Okay, yeah. So it feels very much like
so there's only 2 solo tracks on the album.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, like it's. I actually commend him for wanting to share the spotlight with
Strangely
other people.
enough, I think it actually aids the message of kind of being timeless and passing, the essence of what you're trying to say on to others, that you allow others to kind of carry that torch with you. And even and just the voices and the personalities that he's had to help carry these messages, ironically, just like what was said in the Pharrell interview, where Pharrell had said, if I have to be on a track, it's not because I want to necessarily, but we kind of go through a process, and then if people ultimately decide, like, this is what's going to convey the message best. And then we tied it back to the BTS thing as far as, like, if they're writing lines, I'm sure there are specific lines that are written with so-and-so in mind, but then there are other times where it's like, who is going to, like, this sentence is the epitome of the song. Who is going to best convey that sentence? You know what I mean? Would it work best if we said it once, or if we had 2 or more people harmonize? Decisions like that kind of go into, but ultimately with the intent of bringing the most emotion to the key points that you're trying to emphasize in the song. And I think featuring, whether on hooks or on additional verses, speaks to that as well.
Yeah, and also too, to piggyback a little bit off what you just said, we know outside of like Suge, and then later on, like that, everyone was like kind of writing or like kind of helping and everything. But for a majority of everything, him and Suge did like a lot of the heavy work with writing, especially I guess on the first 3 albums, and then maybe like after that, obviously things had changed. I know this also probably feels different for him as well, where it's just like you only have to like worry about yourself. Essentially, everyone, at least from what I've seen, everyone that he's like paired with on here either wrote their own verse, or I guess like maybe it was a team effort, but they all have writing credits too. So so it probably feels different too, of as opposed to maybe having to write for like a couple other people, just only really having to focus on conveying your message by yourself. And then so I think that's kind of like dope too. This is good, man. This is I hate that these songs are like so good. It's almost like you just want to jump to the next track. But I'm trying to give y'all good content. But these are so good. I want to run this shit back and repeat it a little bit. This might be my favorite joint, just because I was hype off of a couple other joints, but I can't wait to hear this in the car.
Nah, for sure.
How you feel?
Well, for one, just on a musicality level, like I really do love all the contributions to the track by the the artists who were featured. Definitely the low register of the vocals from excuse me, I'm trying to pronounce her name properly.
I think it's Mahalia or Mahalia.
Okay, Mahalia or Mahalia.
Yeah,
Mahalia.
Yeah,
It's
funny. This Filipino Mahala kita.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
But
I wonder if there's any.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a Jamaican, so I didn't see any of the thing.
No, I see. But I do really like her voice on the track, and I love how she's kind of almost this aura, because it's like that's seemingly she seemingly represents the presence that they're trying to get closer to, and that's another thing I was just gonna say about the track in general is anytime there's something involving a love track, generally, there's usually 2 people. Right, or you'll get a rap verse, and then a vocal. Traditionally a female artist playing the vocals of the rap verses, but that communicates the back and forth. I find it interesting that this is kind of one of those stories, but there's 3 people in it. You know what I mean? So part of me, as we were listening, was kind of thinking if Paul Blanco. If he was like the other, man in the equation or something, and they're both kind of tug of warring for this, person. I was like kind of, you get what I mean? And I'm not saying that is particularly the case here, but I'm just saying as we were kind of listening to it, those were kind of thoughts that were going through my head. But I really, for one, I definitely want to commend her vocals as well. Just kind of the lower register, almost with a seemingly kind of sense of, I don't want to say apathy, but like a little bit of a.
I get what you mean.
If he is yearning to get closer, she is kind of, I don't want to say disinterested, but that's where the drama of what story is being told plays out. So I like how they kind of included that.
She was doing backup singing too for people like Rihanna and other people.
Wow,
They said she ran into Ed Sheeran. He had her open up for her. It's saying her major influences, ironically, are Erykah Badu, Lauryn Hill, Amy Winehouse, Jill Scott, Philly in the House.
She's got some goats.
India Arie, Ed Sheeran, and Kate Nash are kind of her musical inspirations. So I kind of hear a mixture of that. It makes sense, especially like I said, she was killing it. But go off, bro. I just wanted to throw that in.
No, I definitely like all the pockets that Paul Blanco was playing in, and his verse is definitely the kind of flow switch ups, a little bit of the melodies, as we had said. I kind of liked his like some of the confident, like I'm trying to, like I don't want to say like I'm trying to bag kind of confidence.
I know what you mean,
but like the energy he was kind of bringing to the track as far as that side. So I thought he conveyed those things well, and I thought it added a nice tempo to the track as well. But just on a little bit of the lyrics, I love how even in the hook it kind of touches on like basically like if I could just be under your skin, like I want to be so close to you that we're almost like entwined in some way. Like I do like the poetry of that as far as like again expressing these feelings in ways that haven't quite been heard before necessarily, or at least to what I have heard. So I always want to commend artists on those kind of things. So stuff like that's always going to stand out to me. I like how RM said don't cease, baby, don't why you floating, but then he goes on to say want to lock you up in my sight, but you run away like a fish. But keeping with that floating and fish thing, kind of a little bit of the wordplay there, and you know how ironically they say, I believe it's both true for fish, but I know it's a common metaphor for sharks. Say if you don't keep going, if you don't keep swimming, you drown or die or whatever. So seemingly conveying that he wants to get closer to her, but her essence or her nature rather is to kind of just move, whether from person to person or just trying to get away from him seemingly. And him just kind of feeling almost like that, like hands trying to grab sand, seemingly, where it's just like everything's just kind of like slipping away. So I really like the inclusion of that.
What you mean? Nah, he's from Canada. He's Canadian Korean.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I was trying to see what's up because he was associated with Stone Music Group. Because it looks like he signed under Ambition Music. Look, Associated X, Changma.
Changma?
Boy from Nike, Swish Flow.
I know. Sorry, my mind went somewhere.
I know. You gotta stop. Nice though. He's only 25 years old.
That's incredible. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's a composer, a singer, producer, rapper.
I felt like he could play in so many lanes. Ironically, when he had his part for sure. I definitely like the confidence that he kind of had on the track. But also it's like if RM's verse was saying like I want to get closer to you like on like a more sentimental side. I like that his was on the more, I don't want to say sexual side, but just on the more promiscuous side. But again, keeping with all these shades of people in general, where it's like if almost like it almost felt like if I'm not like if you don't like me in this way, I'm gonna try something else. So that kind of deviant or that switch up. It felt like it was kind of narratively served in that way as well. But I like those parts. And then honestly, when it cut to the interlude where you had the voice message, like basically I'm leaving you to have to leave your message after the phone call or whatever. So I really thought that was an interesting touch as well, because that production element keeps with the distance aspect or the apathy seemingly. So I thought that was well presented as well.
No, I think you're onto something, because even like it did, regardless of what the closer meant, I got like a sexual energy just because of the whole.
Yeah.
I feel it more at nighttime. And it's just like, what do you feel more at nighttime? Yeah. But I did like his confidence. His whole first bar was just like, "Come on, holla at me, baby, on the block," or whatever he was saying. So he definitely had a certain
like I'll show you what's up.
Yeah, like certain kind of like a vibe and energy to him. And I think anytime RM is on these tracks, he's always going to be, I don't want to say a bit more suave than whoever else is like rapping, just because we know he's kind of like the poet rapper, so he's always going to come off a little bit more James Bondish, if you.
I know what you mean.
But you know what I mean. I feel like I know what I mean too and shit. But I like this energy, because this was almost how can I word this nicely? This was another pocket outside of something. This felt a little kinky in some elements or whatever, as opposed to how can I word this nicely? Sometimes with idols, and I'm not saying that this is what this song is in particular, you don't get to see, I don't want to say like a sexual side of them or whatever. It's your 20s. Your 20s, and when you talk about like discovering yourself, just isn't about like just like, what am I gonna be or what's going on. Sometimes it's physically too, with your body, like like I want to explore my body a little bit more, or explore the opposite sex or the same sex. Explore their body too, and just kind of like have fun and stuff like that.
And honestly, that's what I was just gonna add with the Paul Blanco verse, because right after his verse about essentially trying to seduce her seemingly, it cuts to that bridge or the interlude of the phone being put to voice message or whatever, and then the bridge right after that still Paul Blanco's part is if if love ain't for us, I don't need your touch. Basically, or if love ain't for us, I don't need your touch. Like, in other words, basically that didn't work. Seemingly, it's like, listen, like, it doesn't have to be touch. I just kind of want you here. You know what I mean? Like, it felt like that facade seemingly dropped, or rather, there was that switch up or that change, if you will, where it was just like basically, I'm trying anything to kind of get your attention, seemingly, for lack of a better term. But then the way they kind of end it, which is really what I like, is the whole essence is like, I'm pleading, I'm trying to, essentially crawl to you just to be closer to you, just anything I can do to get closer to you, whether it's this way, that way, that way.
I was talking a little crazy too when here the whole like, if this ain't all we can do, yeah, just looking at you, there's gonna be no take two. So like, if this ain't working right now, it ain't nothing else outside of this. Stay where you are. If this is all we can do, yeah, just looking at you, there's gonna be no take two. Yeah. So I like all that. I like that energy.
Yeah. Ironically, the take two almost feels like it has a little bit of a double to it too, where it's like almost if you shoot your shot and you miss, it's kind of like you're like it's something that's like you can't forget. It's almost like an impression that's going to be stained with you. But also, on the other type energy that you're describing. But I like what it comes with the outro, where it's like basically if we're at a place where it's like I'm trying to get you to come closer, and it's like that's not working. It's like just stay where you are. Just like, in other words, I just don't want you to leave. I don't want you to be further away from me. So regardless of what that is, but mind you, just knowing that this is a time capsule of kind of what his 20s had represented for him, and this literally being the midpoint of that track. I mean, I don't know who it's about or what it's about, or if it even is specifically about someone. But just knowing it's so personal to him, I would assume so. But just going through like that whole idea of like, trying to discover yourself, trying to find love, or is it love, or, what does it mean, or just really feeling a connection to someone. And, couple that with all the stuff that they had to do with BTS, right? Couple that, with times of the pandemic. Granted, it might have been a little bit before that, but they were clearly still doing so much, talk about UN meetings and stuff. So just imagine all the schedule of an idol and then finding someone that you just like, you know what I mean? So even that stay aspect of it, like I feel like it hits a little bit harder just kind of knowing like all the world tours and just traveling that they would have to do as a group, to where it's just like, you would grow to miss someone a lot more if you kind of, you know what I mean? So that's why this stay kind of has a little bit more impact, at least to my perception of it. But I love that this ultimately is a track about just, trying to connect with someone, and learning how to connect with someone. And if it's not working, being able to say that you kind of fell flat, for lack of a better term, because then, learning to kind of pick yourself up and learning to, adjust to things. It's, these are all things that everyone has to kind of go through at some point. So I love this track for that as well. And every artist that was on here definitely, elevated and contributed unique flavors and tones to everything.
Yeah. Shout out to RM, man. Just because, like I said, I'm gonna double down on kind of what I was saying before. His ability to be able to make everything so poetic and like just so decent and different, and his ability on this whole album so far just to be able to kind of put us on other artists that we either didn't know about or some artists that like we heard about, has just been like very eye-opening and amazing. He's really just in different pockets on here, and I think that this album is definitely, I'm not going to say bumping up his stock as far as versatility goes, because I think BTS in general have shown us that every single member can be very versatile when it comes to like music in general.
And I don't want to speak, wrong or anything like that, but just at least to my perception of what I've come to understand, at least, is that of all the BTS tracks, I know he hasn't, like, I'm not going to say like everything has been written by him specifically, but I don't doubt for a second, like if you were to tell me there isn't one BTS writing credit that he doesn't have at least credit on, you know what I mean? So it's like, even if you're not writing the entire song, his influence and his pen is somewhere to be had in I would safely say 90 to 95% of tracks easily.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not educated enough to speak on that exact number, but all that to say, it's just when you considered BTS' entire discography, separate of like little subunit things where like clearly he isn't involved. Like,
Just for one person to have their hands on 95% of the content.
exactly, and so much BTS content that you're still seeing these other different lanes within that. Like all that to say, how much his pen has actually done.
And this ain't too, like you said,
on top of other artists.
And I think you kind of just put an emphasis on it a little bit, but I'll put an emphasis even more. Yeah. This isn't a situation either where it's like BTS just kind of has like 2 albums.
Exactly.
This is 500, 700 song or however many. When you talk about pre-debut, unreleased SoundCloud, personal projects that I know he might have just, and like you said, I don't want to put words in mouth or say something where someone is like, show me it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was helping people on certain tracks where it's just like, oh, okay, well, maybe you should rechange this, because we're not talking about just writing. I'm talking about arrangements, like you said, influence. So that's a lot. Exactly. That's really a lot.
Other groups on top of that too that he has writing credits for and everything like that. And then,
that's a lot.
And then the solo stuff, as you had said, some of his collabs, over here, like with him and YALL or whatever. So it's just like you look at all that body of work of what his mind and his pen has had to do, and he's only 29 years old, and then you're seeing him expressing so much different layers to what he can do and more importantly what he wants to do artistically, that it's just incredible that he still has so much artistically within him to let free. And I love that this album is not a chance for that, both for him and for fans.
Yeah, it's just crazy because at this point, like, and we even since I think we did his birthday last year. If you guys are following us on the Patreon, like we've done so much in the soup content. This last year with RM just has been so like mind blowing, just because all the information that he gave us kind of at the fest, now just like the Pharrell interview, just even him talking like on the tiny desk, little snippets here and there of just kind of you getting a little bit more information. I already have so much love and respect for him. It's just Absolutely. Like he keeps giving me more, and I just don't know where to put all this love at. Yeah. And it's just like, how can somebody be this talented? And I'll double down almost on what you said, and I think we mentioned this in a video before prior to this. I'm OT7. I love every member of BTS, and I think anybody that's been here since day one kind of can't refute that. I love this group so much that we done started started an entire channel really off the back of BTS originally, and then just kind of fell in love with other groups and stuff like that.
Even ironically, just to even give a little bit more insight on that, is just even before actually starting the channel, or maybe before plans of starting the channel, where they were just kind of seeds of thoughts. I mean, you were still essentially pulling me aside and kind of showing me stuff.
Like, Kurt, you like this, and then just like,
hold
on,
just like like, and it's all that to say, it's like those were things that were there well before the channel. I mean, shit, even when we were fucking working on the building and everything, just
the other might be playing. People were like, "What's that?" It was just like, "Don't listen to it too much." I'm gonna put y'all on.
I'm there with a paintbrush. I'm just peek my head like off the side of the ladder.
Yeah. All that to say, bro. I think we talked about it before. A lot of the structure with BTS and kind of the DNA and the backbone of who they are essentially has been built a lot off of RM's pen.
And Bang himself had built a group with RM as the foundation, really.
Yeah, literally hearing him and just being like, I don't care what we do, I just know he's special. And he's so special that we need to put everything around him and then just make it work. And then him, I don't want to turn this into a long thing, but just the whole, when Suge was going to leave, I think they were talking about, and like, no, we can't do this without him. And him just knowing like, we need this person, and him never being selfish. We always talk about, and I think it was early on in our K journey, and I don't know who it was, and I'm not even going to throw somebody under the bus, but I remember somebody just was like, well, if I was the leader, I would write myself all the lines and shit. And I was like, well, that's the difference between like, you and someone who's selfish. That's crazy. They probably like, who said that shit?
So I'm pulling up receipts right now.
But just like how selfless she is as far as like,
I mean, he had said, not leading, horizontally, or not leading vertically, rather but leading horizontally, to where it's not like in a pecking order where it's like me and then everyone else behind me. It's like, no, we're all in the same line, kind of. And I really love that metaphor, and it's certainly something that's held true. And just as a side point, not trying to take away from your point or anything, but even in the Festa specifically, where he had just the impressiveness that I'm having, kind of reflecting on what we've heard of this album so far, is hearing him basically saying where it's like, a lot of my ideals and thoughts have been kind of what we've been driving on, and that I'm in a place where I've said it all. I have nothing more to say, essentially, and not paraphrasing or anything like that, or trying to deviate the context of it. But all that to say, it's just when he kind of had those thoughts, and even if it's something that he doesn't necessarily fully believe, but it was just a moment where he just like kind of because your thoughts are just your thoughts, you know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to give power to them, but I'm sure all that to say that there's been thoughts like that where it's like, not necessarily like, oh, other people kind of step up or anything like that, but more so just I just need to just step back rather. And the reason I'm bringing that up specifically here is he's shown us everything new within this: genres, features, cadences, flows, production. Like everything that we've seen in this, metaphors that we've never heard before, again, after however many songs that we just touched on that he's had a part in writing or performing on his own, conveying different metaphors through things that have never been expressed. That's always so incredibly hard, and especially with this body of work and this high quality body of work. So for him to have shown us everything here being new, when just months ago it felt like he didn't have a word left that he could have said artistically, it's just I just love just how, I don't want to say how healed he is, because again it calls into question that beauty and pain thing where they're almost two opposite sides of the same spectrum, and that the most beauty of art seems to come from the essence of pain. And there's certainly a lot of pain that he's been going through in this album, and I'm sure a lot more as we get to the next half of the album. But it's just, for everything that he's shown us, for him to have said that he really didn't feel like he had anything left to say, and it's just, I'm really happy for his journey healing up to this point, and I hope the album is received, with loving hands, because it's you're really being vulnerable, and I think it's something that should ultimately be much more encouraged. And I'm glad that, a fan base like Army is, behind to kind of support that. But, yeah, I'm just really happy for the healing process of him. Again, ironically, with what was said in Yun, I believe, human first. So I love the human healing aspect of what we've come to see so far.
And, I mean, I'm going to double down on that because, I definitely don't like putting words in like especially like BTS's mouth or projecting anything that I've seen onto like them, but I definitely, from the Festa, from him, like us watching him live talk like in Vegas, you definitely got a feel of like, I don't want to say burnt out, because I think that's like people would associate that like as a negative, but just a feeling of like I'm tired and I don't know what direction I want to go in, or just, I need a break from what's going on now to kind of heal and do something else. Use the word heal, and I felt like that felt very much like what happened. I feel like he's almost giving us gems of not just his 20s, but also on the last couple years recently of what's been going on. I got to tap back into my 15-year-old self to get my spark back. And he's always said like Army is his spark. Anytime he needed strength, he would rely on the others. Now, and obviously I don't want to say like you're by yourself, because they can honestly call each other, do anything and stuff.
Absolutely.
But to be on the solo project, I felt like he kind of gave us the
importance
blueprint
of your first album too, as far as what it represents to him.
How this is just kind of different than anything, because this is my solo album. So just him kind of talking about having to go back to like that kind of 15 year old kind of spark, and just kind of re-trigger certain memories of his 20s. I like his whole concept of like what's the second track called? Still Life. Still Life. Where it really feels like kind of I don't want to say that kind of reinvigorated him, but just kind of like, yo, let me just take this album, show y'all my artwork, and it's still life. We're still moving forward.
It's weird. It's like the past can't be changed, but the future is so uncertain. Mm-hmm. There's nothing but indications of stress within that. Yet taking that moment in the now, the present, and just embodying the beauty of, you know, those things. Mm-hmm. Like that's a really hard kind of line to walk. I mean, it's easier said than done, of course, but it's just all that to say. It's like the fact that it seems we know, or we have the slightest hints. I mean, because clearly it's much more substantial to what he's actually had to go through, both, you know, in the forefront with, you know, Army and with, you know, social media and everything like that, and both, you know, behind closed doors and, you know, with the members and all those kind of situations as well. So just knowing like the slightest hint of what he's had to go through in tandem with the group, of course, and just getting to that place where you can, you know, find beauty in the present. I love the healing aspect of that as well. And when I was digging in a little bit on the lyrics of Windflower, funny enough, you mentioned Vegas. As far as feeling like he was burnt out, apparently he had, you know, stated in an interview or something like that that was where he wrote Windflower, in Vegas, when he was performing there. So I'm just imagining us, you know, I mean, granted there was 2 weekends, so it could have been before, during, or whatever, but I'm just imagining us, like, you know, just sitting there watching him perform on stage and watching him with the group and you know, them singing the songs, and then, you know, us, you know, being able to go back, and then them just going to, you know, the hotel room, and him just, you know, in that space where it's just, you know, that tough head space where it's like, you know, I'm not feeling, you know, like it's like what, like I'm not feeling the direction of my life, you know, either going the way I want or kind of what I want to do next or anything. So just knowing that beautiful song and honestly the beautiful album came out of just moments like that where we were literally as close as we're possibly going to be. Like it adds a different layer of emotion to it, I'll say.
Nah, that's decent. And it's just imagine having to do like you just already came off the hills, I think, of like doing the concerts in Seoul. You went and you did basically 2 hard weekends of just like high-end performances in Vegas, and still having the time to even write literally your title track to your solo debut album. He's really everything that I love about K-pop. He was the first leader that I met in K-pop, and kind of every leader after him needs to either be in his mold or just I cannot say enough good things about RM.
No, absolutely.
And it's just one of those things where like his hard work and dedication and just things that he done, like he doesn't seem human. Like
honestly,
this is just,
yeah, and that's the ironic thing, because that's the very thing he's trying to
that's
seek.
that he's trying to seek is like, I'm just human.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's enough hours in the day for him to do anything he needs to do, and we've seen that on In the Soup, where it's just like he reads throughout the day, he writes, spends time with everyone to check and make sure karaoke and singing. Finally, that felt like some of that stuff, and even artwork. It's just kind of like always just doing something.
I didn't even think about that. It makes the painting of what we had seen in the Soup that much more meaningful, because it's like we know like what art really means to him. So just imagine him having those times to reflect and just kind of like, you know, even when he was, you know, all excited and hiking up or biking rather up the, you know, the hillside or whatever, and he's just like, this is, you know, when I see this hillside, this is what I imagine as like, you know, like an essence of happiness. So yeah, it's just, you know, he's just such a wise and old soul. Like it feels like he's just like, it almost feels like if people were in their late 90s or possibly 100 years old and they were to look back on their life and write like a novel about like, oh, I would have done this or could have done this or learned this about life and this about like it feels like he's already embodied that like end of life kind of self-actualization.
My grandparents used to have a phrase for that when like someone so young was like ahead of their time like that. Yeah. They would always say like, he seems like he's been here before.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
Like he seems like he's been here before, in the sense of like just so like well-rounded with everything, and just kind of like you said, that motor that he has and his knowledge of everything.
And I'm not trying to turn this into like another tangent or anything, but just all of that coupled with like, you know, the UN speeches and things, meeting the president, like all these like diplomacy kind of things that are on top of that, and couple that with another layer.
He's almost a politician.
No, exactly. You're an ambassador for peace. And that's absolutely amazing, but, you know, great power, great responsibility. It's just, you know, it's just these kind of things that, you know, no one either expected or even wanted, to be honest, and just the way they've handled it. And this is really my biggest takeaway. I mean, amidst, you know, that tangent is they've handled it with such grace, all of them, you know, but there's never been like a freak out moment, a public incident, a meltdown, a messing with a reporter or shoving a fan, or like there's nothing. And how well documented their lives are, their journeys, you know, the various, you know, vlogs and V lives and, you know, all these sort of things.
They're not hiding anything.
Exactly. And it's just, and they've had none of that. And I'm sure behind closed doors, there's moments where they want to freak out or, you know, just be left alone or just go to sleep or, you know, take a hot shower and just kind of forget about everything. But all that to say, it's like they've handled all these pillars throughout their career, these milestones, and again, only being 29, with such grace and dignity and humility. It's just honestly like it's just forget K-pop. Like this is a human, like this is something humans like really need to learn from, and the music on top of that is just, you know, chef's kiss. So
yeah, it's just one of those things where, like you said, BTS, and it's funny we keep saying we don't want to go on tangents, keep talking. BTS.
Sorry, y'all.
You just brought up a great point though, and we. It's funny because people get mad that we kept having we kept comparing JK like to LeBron, but LeBron was kind of the same way where it was just like, you're a black man in America and you didn't have an incident yet of like cheating, doing something crazy, not a parking ticket. Obama was kind of like that.
I was actually just about to bring up Obama. That's funny.
Where Obama was like that, where you're in a position, also like you're in a position where haters almost want you to do something, where it's like one slip up, because when your record is that clean, one thing that you do, whether I don't care how bad it is, I don't care if they got caught jaywalking, like, you know, it just would be almost global news almost.
Exactly, and it calls in the effect of that the bigger they are, the harder they fall sort of thing, where it's like if you're at this level, like a roller coaster, it's like the drop is so incredible, and that's of course what Jungi refers to in Shadow in a sense where it's like if we're up this high and just keep climbing, it's like that drop is so much more scary. But that's also something that parallels the you know, haters or whatever kind of preying on your downfall, and it's honestly sad to me that people actually want people to fail in any aspect of their lives. You know, just the human side of it, like I just don't understand why that's a thing really, but just knowing that they've continued to ascend and to really to transcend throughout everything has just, you know, been just so inspiring on a human level, and their music is, you know, beyond phenomenal at that point as well.
And what's crazy too was like over here, you got some artists who are in trouble like every other week. I'm not gonna say names, but you know, people who are in trouble like every other week. These are 7 grown ass men.
Height of their 20s.
Yeah, where, you know, your 20s, if we're being honest, those are supposed to be the years you're supposed to fuck up. Yeah. Those are supposed to be the years, you know, I don't want to say like everybody needs to dabble in drugs or like just be, you know, in the sexcapades or anything else and shit like that. But those are typically your years to kind of like really find yourself, experiment and do things of that nature. And for all 7 of them to never be in the midst of like anything, they're just 7 beautiful souls. Like, and it's just like you can't. Yeah. I always find it weird. It's very hard to kind of hate on that, and for people to kind of wait for their downfall is just kind of like weird. I think that those people are just going to be pissed their entire life.
Exactly. And it's like they've donated to charities and all these other countless things without even being credited, really.
Got other people to do donations and everything too and stuff. And like you said, don't do it for clout, have never done anything kind of just to like be extra. And all this off the back of really 7 people who weren't supposed to make it. Yeah. So it's just, you know, in America, we love a good underdog story. And us being from Philly, too, we literally have, like, creative underdog stories and shit in media and other masses and stuff like that. And it's just, like, this might be one of the greatest underdog stories ever, and I don't even feel like they're 30% into their run.
No.
Ironically,
Yeah.
into their run.
And ironically, 30 as far as yes, that's a double.
30 for 30.
The BTS story, but it's also the fact that their ground was so much of a rough ground as far as like not getting concert spots and everything, and like just all these sort of things that they had to go through. Clearly, not being a member of the Big Three or a company of the Big Three, and just having to what they had to go through to even style them, to pay for clothes and makeup, to have them all hunched in a dorm together where the accommodations weren't as great, but they were still working hard, and it's you kept the soul of the groups, you kept the heart of the group intact amidst, it's like can you imagine, it's like, yo, we've been working for years, and it's not paying off, or it's like I'm still dealing with this, or it's still like what I mean, you're working your ass off time and time again, and it's not paying for you. At least in those, like, there had to have been moments of that, and they just kept going, kept grinding, and it's like, to go from that amidst everything and so much more on top of that to the unforeseeable heights that they've achieved and continue to achieve and to ascend. It really is just like it almost feels like a moment like this will be marked in like history, like well beyond, and I don't just mean musically, I just mean like just someone's gonna look back and like this was a group who went through this and that, and it's gonna inspire and spark the fires and the passions for countless groups and honestly generations to come, both in K-pop and honestly just on a human level.
Yeah, I think when everything's said and done, they're going to be the greatest group of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because, and I've seen a lot of amazing groups in my time, even in rap. Like I said, we just talked about, like we always used to talk about the Wu-Tang Clan, kind of one of my other kind of favorite groups. We talked about the Migos, rest in peace to Offset.
Absolutely, that's horrible.
Another tragic death, someone taken like way too early. The amount of things that BTS have been able to done so far, and we just kind of always keep going back to like before 30, just because I told you I think 30 is so young.
It is
to me. Talk to any old head who's in their 40s or even 50s. 30, you're still, I don't want to say a young man, but it's still like you're just hitting your spunk. Like to me, that's when you bump it up into like kind of like grown man, like kind of like status and shit.
Yeah.
But you still, like I said, have 20 years before you turn 50. Like we said, I'm not going to continue to keep beating a dead horse, but like even in just SK alone, I wouldn't be surprised if the life expectancy over there is like 85 or 90 or something like that. If I'm wrong,
I mean,
I don't know any better.
Kind of, especially seafood and things of that nature that are so well.
And like you said, the advent of new technology, like with healthcare, advancement in medicines and everything like that. I truly think that BTS is just getting started. I honestly think all of them are going to drop a crazy solo one that's going to do like crazy numbers, and all of them are going to get individual accolades from solo projects. After that's done, I think everyone is going to serve and do their time in the military, and when they link back up, they're going to have a comeback album that's going to be the craziest comeback album in K-pop, and it's going to be a charting #1 album in America.
Yeah. And just to briefly add to that, not to run on a tangent or anything, but even
keep saying it.
Sorry, even the Run choreo that had just come out, it's just, that was arguably the top tier choreo that had beaten the top tier choreo that had beaten the top tier choreo. So it's like, imagine it's like the pillar of your choreo had essentially just dropped.
You're gonna get me emotional. I swear it's crazy you brought that up. I was with my mom earlier, and she's a big BTS fan too, and she never seen the Run choreo, so I put it on. Rewatching that choreo, for people who don't think like rap line or don't think Jin like can dance or can do this, the amount of center I was so shook, had so many center moments in there.
High kinetic, like
high kinetic. Jin has so many. That scarf stuff that Jin was doing on the Run choreo, he scared me because I thought someone was going to trip on the scarf.
Yeah. I almost thought it was a little improv, kind of him having
to re-pick it back up and just.
It might not have been, but it looks so.
It felt like he just was being professional and like got it up off the ground.
Yeah.
when I tell you, even earlier today, like, bro, I was re-looking at like everybody's footwork, their energy. I don't want. I don't know if that's my favorite dance choreo of all time from them. Let me put it like this: if that's your favorite dance choreo from them of all time, I get it.
Absolutely.
From 1 through 7, they were like just moving, like just moving. And it's funny you brought it up because it's just even. And I'm not. We keep saying we're not trying to run on tangents. Remember earlier how you said it felt like RM was like kind of healed?
Yeah.
I don't know why I got that same energy from them. It seemed like their battery was recharged too, and like that dance choreo was them just running into their
no
their
effort
peak.
to. I mean, no pun intended with the title being run, but it felt like there was no effort for them to remotely slow down or remotely chill or kind of take it. It was like they were. They're constantly about sharpening the iron and rising to that next step, discovering new ladders or new rungs on the ladder to climb. Within that, and it's just when you look at all that, you look at the album and what the group's doing and how well they're all doing with their respective solo things and how they're all intent on coming back together. Like it isn't like no pun intended, like an ego thing where someone's trying to be bigger than someone else or anything. Like there's every possible chip is so perfectly aligned and strong. It's just they are literally at the height of absolutely everything, and I really do think there's only new heights to be achieved through this.
Same. I think the best is yet to come.
Absolutely.
Let's wrap this up. Jump, y'all better be subscribed. People gonna be like, y'all had almost an hour conversation on Closer. Y'all better be subscribed and on the Patreon because it's more talks like this on there, and all the exclusive stuff is up like on there. This has been fun so far. I think I'm gonna title this like halfway album review. That way, some more eyes can take a look at it because we kind of gave our assessment almost halfway through of kind of what's going on. Jump in the comments. Tell us how y'all felt about everything. I know me and Kurt by ourselves just talked about everything. Was getting emotional a little bit, like up here reminiscing and just re-going over like some stuff. So jump in the comments. Tell us how y'all felt about everything. Love y'all.
Love y'all.
Holla at y'all.
Take care.
Peace.